When divisions feel sharp, Michigan Public brings us together. Our balanced reporting highlights shared experiences and different perspectives. This fall member drive support the reporters and fact-checkers who make it possible at michiganpublic.org.
You know that show, Restaurants at the End of the World? There's something magical about watching Kristen Kish trek to these far-flung corners of the world just to sit down to a meal that feels almost impossible to reach.
I am making my way to the northernmost inhabited place on Earth.
You are quite literally in the middle of nowhere.
Like everything in this place, you're gonna kind of have to make do with what you got.
What if I told you that there's a place in Michigan that requires the same kind of journey and delivers an extraordinary meal?
People are out here unplugging. They're usually making like really nice connections with each other. I feel like it's a really awesome, great sort of social experiment.
From the time Lane Regan was running Elizabeth, their Michelin star restaurant in Chicago, they had a dream to open a bed and breakfast in the woods, a place where people unplug from their busy lives and connect over long meals and late-night conversations by the fire.
And I tried to do as much as I could there in terms of the way I like to cook, with a lot of the foraged ingredients and a lot of homegrown things and a lot of local. But there's just a different demand and expectations for what menus look like at fine dining restaurants in cities. You know, trying to forage for 30 people a night, 5 days a week is way different than 12 people on one weekend, you know. Right. So, because I've wanted to do this for such a long time, probably even before I started my restaurant, but I think that Elizabeth was the stepping stone to get to this, which is what I really wanted to do.
This is The Dish, a podcast celebrating Michigan's incredible culinary talent. I'm Mercedes Mejia. Today, how one chef turned a remote log cabin in the woods into one of Michigan's most unique dining destinations. For me, it was a short flight to Marquette, then a long drive deep into the Hiawatha National Forest. No GPS, no cell signal, just lots of bumpy roads. And I made it harder by forgetting Lane's directions and getting lost. But guests usually get picked up at a meetup spot.
So that we can bring them all back. It's just easier because inevitably people might get lost. So,
what is that like to just be here, you know, in a remote setting like this?
Oh, I love it. I never get bored. And a lot of people ask, like, oh my gosh, aren't you lonely out there? And like, I'm actually never alone. So, you know, we always have residents. There's always friends over. So, yeah, there's no time for loneliness. It doesn't feel isolated whatsoever.
For Lane, weekends are anything but lonely. I arrive on a Friday. Lane and the team are hard at work ensuring every detail is in place before guests arrive.
This is the cracklin for on top of the profiteroles for tonight.
That's Carrie Masters. She's the founder of Bird and Toad, a woman-led food art collaborative based in Marquette. She often helps on the weekends.
So this is a chaga mushroom, and then the profiteroles will be stuffed with a spruce ice cream. So this is one of the dessert courses for tonight.
Guests arrive around 6 p.m. After they acclimate to their new surroundings, things kick off with a multi-course family-style dinner.
By family style, we just mean that some dishes are shared and some are individual. And it's all things that we've gotten, you know, locally from the farmers or from, you know, the land, from the woods. And then they go downstairs and have s'mores and digestifs by the fire.
Saturdays unfold like a tasting menu. Pastries and coffee in the morning, a savory brunch at 11, lunch at 2:30, cocktails at 5:30, and a 13-course dinner by nightfall.
We always serve a wild local on Saturday, which is always fun. Sometimes it's duck, sometimes it's deer.
That's Eve Van Harpen, Lane's partner.
And we always serve superior whitefish, which is a big deal. And a lot of people have connotations about what the whitefish will taste like, and then they have Lane's whitefish, and it's so fun to watch people. Some of the most simple dishes, onions and turnips. People are like, oh, it's an onion dish, and then their minds are blown. And that is so fun to hear people giggle about. It's just onions. And we'll hear, it's just cabbage. How did cabbage taste this good?
Lane has built a reputation on hyper-local and foraged ingredients, a vision that's landed them on best chef lists and earned Michelin recognition. Today, the same creativity shapes weekends at Milkweed, where up to 12 guests are hosted across a couple of cabin rooms, an Airstream camper, and 2 large tents.
And you can see kind of right through the railings there, we have our wall tent. So it's like a kind of a glamping experience. So you can, kind of be outside. The river is straight below us, so the guests get to hear the otters at nighttime. They won't get to see the otters, but they'll get to hear the otters.
The log cabin has a super cozy vibe, with vintage finds and comfy spots everywhere you look. The innkeepers are really friendly. There's a bunch of dogs, different breeds, just roaming around like they own the place. It somehow makes it feel even more like home. The living room and kitchen are shared spaces that open up to a big deck with amazing views of the wilderness all around.
Do you remember the first time you hosted people here?
Oh, yeah. Well, we had a friends and family first, and, that was a test of having people drive in and plug it into their GPS, and it got too many people lost. And, it was really great, and our first weekend was really amazing. There was some familiar faces because I have a lot of people come still from Chicago. Yeah, and now we are at the point where we get a lot of repeat guests. We have some people that come back every year, which is it's really nice to see that,
From those early dinners to today, one thing has stayed the same. The meals are at the heart of the experience.
Today, we're going to do a salad of some local greens and some from our garden with kind of like a little play on a Caesar. We'll do a cornmeal porridge bread with Wisconsin Parmesan. That's my sourdough. We'll do chanterelles that are wild chanterelles with wild raspberries. We're going to make a tomato dish with some of the tomatoes from our garden and milkweed flowers, and that'll be served with the bread. We'll do a cabbage dish that we get cabbage from in our CSA. We will do pierogi, which is one of my longtime staples. And then we will have whitefish. So it's a herb brown butter poached whitefish. And then we do a little profiterole with a Queen Anne's lace ice cream.
Queen Anne's lace is also known as wild carrot. It's everywhere in summer. Those delicate white umbrella-shaped flowers you see along the roadsides.
And then after that will be the s'mores and digestives.
That sounds amazing.
So yeah, it's quite a lengthy menu, and people always laugh when I say that Friday night is more of the casual menu. But yeah, there's just so much, especially right now, there's just so much coming into season. August is probably when our menu is the longest.
Does cooking in the setting allow you to do anything that you couldn't do in Chicago? Is it limiting in any way?
So it is definitely limiting in some ways because we're, I was just out foraging blueberries yesterday, and this season has not been super fruitful in some of the areas that I go. So, then I came back and had to change the menu a little bit depending on that. So there's limitations like that. There's limitations that if, we have to really plan out our menus for the week and what we're exactly making because we can't just run out to the store to grab eggs or something like that. So, there's a lot of planning and preparation, and then there's the seasonal things where there's limitations to that too, especially being, sort of far north, that we have shorter growing seasons than other areas. So there's a lot of preserving involved, but I always kind of did that. But now it just actually makes sense to be doing it. Yeah. So yeah, I think all the limitations are also challenges, but in a positive way,
Still, I had to ask if there was anything they missed from city life, or if it was just good riddance.
Not good riddance, because I do love the city of Chicago, but I was ready for a long time to move out of the city, probably since 2017. So it was probably in 2017 when I started looking for cabins. Yeah. But the thing that I miss the most about Chicago is the diversity and the many different foods, right? I love Ethiopian food, I love Korean food, and if we want to have anything like that here, it's, digging through recipes and cookbooks and trying to figure out how to do it ourselves. And occasionally I'll have residents who are maybe from somewhere else, like another country or a different, background, and they're able to make some things like that, and then that's really special. So I think the diversity in food is hard to find, but slowly it's happening here. We just got a really good taqueria, so that's good. Yeah.
It's time for a break. When we come back, we forage for wild raspberries, and Lane introduces me to lobster mushrooms, one of their favorite late summer finds.
There's a mushroom that's called a lactarius mushroom, and the parasite of the lobster mushroom infects that, and so that mushroom sort of turns into the lobster, or it becomes it, or it grows as it.
That's in a minute. Be right back. Chef Lane Regan takes me up the road to a raspberry patch for tonight's menu.
When I'm picking berries that I'm going to serve in dishes for our guests, I always do it here day of if I'm serving them fresh, because they're generally so small. They don't hold up very well.
Right.
So,
Who taught you how to forage?
I grew up doing that with my dad, and we just stuck to many very familiar mushrooms, hen of the woods and morels and chanterelles, and then berries. So my grandfather's farm was really fruitful, but over the years I've taught myself a lot, and just because I love it and I love reading about it and researching, but I wouldn't say that I'm a, master forager, or a lot of times people confuse me with being a mycologist because I know how to pick mushrooms, but again, I stick to the ones that I know. I'm very cautious with it just because there are so many lookalikes out there. So over the years I've, read lots of books on foraging, and then when you're out in the woods a lot and you start to cross-reference, that's kind of how I've taught myself.
Yeah. Do you have anybody in the area that you've leaned on, or have you just learned on your own?
Some of my neighbors, well, that's more for hunting. They're really sweet. They'll share some of their proteins with us, or the things that they fish. So that's been really nice. There's a few ladies in town, one in Rapid River, who goes foraging a lot, but she's not a big cook, so it's nice on our busy weeks because she'll tell me, oh, hey, I just found a chicken of the woods mushroom, and I'm not going to use it, so do you want it, Yeah. So there's certainly been people who've been helping me out here and there, which has been really nice.
So what's growing like crazy around here right now?
Oh, right now, well, the blackberries are going to be ready soon, so those are everywhere. We just collected some lobster mushrooms. There are Queen Anne's lace is everywhere. The milkweed is flowering everywhere. So those are a few of the forageables. The elderflowers, chanterelles, bolete mushrooms, and then in the gardens where we have zucchini and cucumbers. Some of your basics. The tomatoes are just starting to ripen. But yeah, we're headed into like a big blackberry season next.
You mentioned lobster mushrooms. I had never heard of it really. How did you, I think they're not even mushrooms technically, but how did you come across them?
So I've had them, for years, like when I had Elizabeth, and prior to that, I, had lobster mushrooms, but I actually hadn't foraged them. Not until like 2018 did I find my first lobster mushroom. But so I knew that they would be up here in the North Woods. So for the first 2 years, I was always kind of just scouting for them when I was out foraging. And then I think it was in 2021 I found my first spot of the lobster mushrooms. It seems like they're in the forest that are deciduous, but that have a lot of those trees. Yeah. And my understanding is that there's a mushroom that's called a lactarius mushroom, and the parasite of the lobster mushroom infects that, and so that mushroom sort of turns into the lobster, or it becomes it, or it grows as it. I'm not sure of all the science behind it. And then it's more of an edible mushroom, and it has that lobster mushroom quality where they really do smell like lobster, and they have the color of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard it kind of has like a seafood, reminiscent of seafood. What do you love about cooking with them?
I love the texture of them. I think that the flavor is delicious, and I love foraging for them. They're kind of easier find because they're so bright. So it's just a fun mushroom to have. I'll make like a miso out of it to save it, and then preserve it in that way, and then the following year collect the lobster mushroom again and then cook it in the lobster mushroom miso from the year before. That's the beauty of like we were talking about cooking in this way out here, that I can make all these special little things that I don't have to make massive amounts of, and then I'm able to hang on to it.
The best way for me to understand a lobster mushroom is to taste it. Lane leads me into the kitchen to see how they prepare it.
This is like the calm before like everyone descends on the place.
So this is the lobster mushroom miso from last year. It's lobster mushrooms that are have been preserved with koji rice, beans, salt, and water.
That smells like wine. It smells so good.
So I'm going to make the lobster mushrooms seared in butter with some dandelion vinegar, and then wild blueberry molasses on top.
Thank you.
I take a bite.
It's really meaty. That sauce is so yummy. Like the blueberry, that kind of vinegary flavor, a little sweet.
It's earthy and sweet, like the forest itself.
Thank you guys so much for letting us stop by. This is super fun. We really appreciate it.
Eating this dish, it's clear Lane has built a new rhythm here in the woods.
I'm wondering, how does the shift in the environment shape the way that you cook or the way that you see food?
I think if anything, just being here has distilled the way that I already was thinking and seeing the food, so that has been just like exactly the manifestation that like I had been manifesting, so yeah, for me this makes sense, and the scaling down was really important for me because I had tried to scale up and do, multiple restaurants and just having small businesses, and the way that, I have run things was just, it was too hard on me. There was too much to do, and I had too many hats. And here, while I'm still running the business and sometimes answering emails and doing the books and social media and so on and so forth, it's still just smaller. It's different. And so I can really get back into the part that I love, which is the food part, and I lost a lot of that with Elizabeth because I was so busy actually running the restaurant that, I wasn't able to do, actually get out and do the foraging that I wanted to do, or, growing the things that I wanted to grow. So here I'm able to do that,
Milkweed Inn is now open year-round, with a couple of weekends available this winter. Thank you so much to Chef Lane Regan and the crew for welcoming us into their remote corner of the UP and for their time and hospitality. If you love the Dish podcast, share it with a friend. Or if you have an idea for a Dish episode, let us know. You can email us at thedish@michiganpublic.org. Today's episode was produced and mixed by me, your host, Mercedes Mejia. Edited by Ronia Kabansag and Laura Weber Davis. Music from Blue Dot Sessions and Audio Network. Thank you so much for listening. See you next time.